My last video was a prediction video for the Western Conference teams, and as I said, I would be making one for the Eastern Conference, and here it is. But if you haven't watched my last video, you should watch that now and then come back to this one, and also remember to like and subscribe. The team I have taking the first seed is the Milwaukee Bucks. Over the offseason, the Bucks picked up Jrue Holiday, DJ Augustin, and Bobby Portis, who should all help the Bucks, but especially Jrue. On the topic of Jrue Holiday, this trade was massive for the Bucks, as it adds another player who can create their own shot, which will help the Bucks in the playoffs. Getting Bogdan Bogdanovic would have been another massive signing for the Bucks, but unfortunately he didn't agree to the sign and trade. However, in spite of all of this, while I believe the Bucks will do well in the regular season when teams aren't setting specific defenses, I don't think they will do that well in the playoffs or reach the finals due to the fact that teams have worked out how to defend Giannis. I don't see how he will get around that. With the return of KD and Kyrie, the Nets will be looking to be in title contention for the NBA championship this year. The Nets had a relatively quiet offseason this year, but re-signed Joe Harris to a massive 4-year, $80 million contract, and traded their first-round pick in this year's draft for Landry Shamet, who will provide good scoring off of the bench. Even though he's coming off an injury, Kevin Durant will be looking to reaffirm his status as one of the best players in the NBA. One question the Nets will encounter is whether Kyrie can stay healthy for the entire season and the playoffs, and just let his ego go and let his game talk. Also, if you watched my video on my award predictions for this year, you would know that I believe that Spencer Dinwiddie will be the 6th man of the year, and assuming he does that, the Nets will be strong title contenders for the next few years to come. After beating the Golden State Warriors in the 2019 finals, the Raptors were strong title contenders, but last season they bundled out of the playoffs in the second round. While they lost both of their centers in Marc Gasol and more importantly Serge Ibaka, the Raptors sought to replace their production with Aaron Baines. And while I think Aaron is a great player, I don't think he is as good as Serge. Re-signing Chris Boucher was great for the Raptors, as he too should be a good replacement for Marc and Serge, and as well as signing Fred VanVleet. In the playoffs, the Raptors experienced some troubles with their star Pascal Siakam's offensive output, due to the fact that teams could just set up a wall against him and render him useless. The key to the Raptors' success will be whether Pascal Siakam can step up in the playoffs and put up the same production as he did in the regular season. The Celtics had a pretty good playoff run last season, sweeping the 76ers and beating the Raptors in 7, where Brad Stevens showed his worth as a top coach in the league, but eventually lost to the Heat in 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Through the draft, the Celtics added Aaron Nesmith with the 14th pick, who should provide good minutes on the wing, and Peyton Pritchard with the 26th pick. A notable loss for the Celtics was Gordon Hayward, who they lost for practically nothing, as well as Brad Wanamaker, who played some good minutes behind Kemba Walker. However, the Celtics did add Jeff Teague to replace Wanamaker, and they signed center Tristan Thompson, a position where they were vulnerable against both the Heat and the Sixers. The Celtics will be looking forward to see whether Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown can take another step up and help the Celtics to a high seed in a more competitive Eastern Conference than we have seen in a while. After an amazing playoff run last year that saw them beat the number 1 seed in the box in 5 games and taking 2 games away from the Lakers, the Heat look to be back in title contention again. Given this status, you would think that I would have the Heat as a higher seed than I have them, but I think that the Heat's success comes in the playoffs where they can set specific defenses to each team. Even though the Heat lost Jay Crowder and Derrick Jones Jr. in the offseason, they drafted rookie Precious Achiuwa and signed Mo Harkless to help off the bench and kept Goran Dragic in South Beach. Tyler Hero was one of the standouts for the Heat during the playoffs, and while he was a little inefficient in the Lakers series, he played very well in all the other series, especially against the Celtics. This year, Tyler Hero should take another big step up and affirm his spot as a starter for the Heat, and along with fellow sophomore player Kendrick Nunn, should provide valuable scoring for the Heat. Following the recent firing of their coach, Brett Brown, after losing to the Celtics in 4, the 76ers hired Doc Rivers and enlisted the help of Daryl Morey to help return the 76ers to the team that were one shot away from being in the conference finals. Trading away Al Horford was great for the 76ers as it got off a terrible contract and they received a 3-and-D player in Danny Green, something the 76ers needed as both of their stars can't really shoot. Another great decision was trading for Seth Curry, one of the best three-point shooters in the league, as it adds more spacing to a team that needs it. Signing Dwight Howard was great for the 76ers, as well as it adds another very efficient player to their roster and a great player to Joel Embiid. And as I said in my award prediction video, I believe Dwight Howard will be a top 3 candidate for 6th Man of the Year. The Washington Wizards were looking to have one of their quieter off-seasons, when out of the blue, they traded John Wall for Russell Westbrook. Trading for Russell Westbrook looks to be a great move for the Wizards, and should raise the ceiling of the Wizards by a lot, and that is the main reason why I believe that they will be a playoff contender. However, the biggest question for the Wizards will be if Westbrook can fit in with Bradley Beal, as well as all the other pieces they have on their team. With the 9th pick in the draft, the Wizards drafted Deni Avdija from Israel, a tall playmaking wing who should add more passing to the Wizards' offense. The Wizards also retained Davis Bertans on a 5-year, $80 million contract, and while it is a lot of money to be paying a shooter, he's one of the best in the league and will provide valuable spacing for the team. The Hawks had probably the most eventful offseason out of all the teams, acquiring big free agent Danilo Gallinari, as well as Rajon Rondo and Chris Dunn. In the draft, the Atlanta Hawks drafted Onyeka Okongwu with the 6th pick, a defensively minded center that many scouts have compared to Bam Adebayo, but considering they have Clint Capella, it doesn't make too much sense. The Hawks will be hoping that their young talent in Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter can both take steps up in the game and contribute a lot to the Hawks' rotation. One of the Hawks' biggest problems was their defense, as they finished the 3rd worst team defense out of every team, and by signing Chris Dunn, their defense should get a little better, as he is one of the best defensive guards in the league, and it will be a massive help with Trae Young alongside him. The Indiana Pacers had probably the quietest off-season with no real moves happening, and this is why I have them so low. Last year, after finishing with the 4th seed and then getting swept by the Heat in the 1st round, the Pacers made no changes to their roster over the off-season, while the rest of the East progressed. If Victor Oladipo returns to his All-NBA form from a couple of years ago, I could see the Pacers being a 7th or 8th seed, but otherwise, I see the Pacers in the playing game just outside of the playoffs. The Orlando Magic also had a relatively quiet off-season, and that's why I have them falling from their placing last season as well. At the draft, the Magic drafted Cole Anthony, someone that fell in the draft due to an injury during his college season, who should play some good backup minutes, and depending on if he plays well, he might even take a starting spot. The Magic's free agency was also quite quiet, with their only signing being Dwayne Bacon. While they did lose DJ Augustine to the Bucks, I don't see that affecting the Magic too much, and I feel like they will be a very similar team to the one that they have been for the past few years. The Hornets had quite a good offseason this year, and will be possibly looking to make a push for the playoffs. They made a great signing getting Gordon Hayward, and while it was a bit of an overpay, due to the fact that not many players signed with Charlotte, it was a good decision. Hayward will probably put up similar stats to the one he did in his time at Utah, as he will have a much bigger role than the one he had at Boston. The draft was great for the Hornets, as they got their point guard for the future in LaMelo Ball, who should take a big role in the offense, and, as I said in my award predictions video, I believe he will win the Rookie of the Year. After finishing 11th in a pretty weak Eastern Conference, I don't think the Bulls will have much chance of making the playoffs this year. In the draft, the Bulls made a pick that surprised a lot of people in drafting Patrick Williams, a player that didn't start a game throughout the entire college season. Depending on how Patrick Williams performs this year will most likely determine how the Bulls project over the next few years, as they will probably not get another pick this high for quite a while. The Bulls will be expecting progression from Kobe White this year, and if he takes a massive step up this year, I think the Bulls could possibly finish above Charlotte. That would also rely on both Lauri Markkanen and improving too. Losing Chris Dunn will be quite a big blow, as there aren't many defenders on this roster apart from the rookie Williams, and that could affect a lot of their results and their final placing at the end of the season. The Knicks have been quite unlucky these past few years with their results in the draft lottery, but their front office has still made some terrible moves. While they did fall a bit in the draft this year, I believe that the player they drafted with the 8th pick, Obi Toppin, was a great pick, and I think he will have a great rookie season this year. While they did lose Bobby Portis and Mo Harkless, adding Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, and Austin Rivers are all upgrades over the players that they had last year. I think that they will have a better season than the last. The Knicks will also be hoping that RJ Barrett takes a big leap from his rookie season and increases his efficiency. The Cavs finished the season as the bottom seed in the Eastern Conference last season, but ended up falling to the 5th pick in the draft. With their pick, they drafted Isaac Okoro, a defensive wing out of Auburn who should pair well alongside the smaller guards in Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, who both lack quite a bit of defense, especially Garland. If Okoro can put out something on the offensive end, then he'll be a great pick for them, but considering they drafted Kevin Porter Jr. last year, I'm not sure who they will be starting. The Cavs will also be hoping that Garland can step up his game and produce at a better level than he did in his rookie season. The Pistons look like they will be the bottom seed of the Eastern Conference after the off-season has finished. The Pistons made quite a few questionable decisions during the off-season, namely releasing Christian Wood but signing Mason Plumlee. They also signed Jeremy Grant to a massive contract for the next few years after he had a great playoff run with the Nuggets. While they did make a few confusing signings, the Pistons did have a great draft, drafting Killian Hayes with the 7th pick and trading Luke Kennard for the 19th pick, which they drafted Saddiq Bey. I believe that the Killian Hayes will have a great rookie season and will be a great point guard for the Pistons' future, especially with Derrick Rose wanting to mentor him. So let's have a look at my rankings. I have the Milwaukee Bucks at the top of the Eastern Conference, the Brooklyn Nets 2nd, the Toronto Raptors in 3rd, and the Boston Celtics in 4th. I believe that the Miami Heat will finish 5th, the Philadelphia 76ers 6th, the Washington Wizards 7th, and the Atlanta Hawks in 8th. Outside of the playoffs, I have the Indiana Pacers in 9th, the Orlando Magic in 10th, the Hornets are in 11th, the Chicago Bulls in 12th. I have the New York Knicks in 13th, the Cleveland Cavaliers in 14th, and finally, I have the Detroit Pistons at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. So what do you guys think? Do you agree with my rankings, or do you have some other opinions? Let me know down in the comments, and remember to like and subscribe as it really helps me out.